Socratic math tutor here. Today I want to talk about times tables. And so the idea here is that we imagine we're teaching a young student and they've been asked at school to memorize their times tables. And maybe they don't want to memorize their times tables because, let's face it, memorization is too hard and it's kind of boring. And so what you want to do is you want to give them some techniques so that, that they don't have to memorize them. They can just kind of work them out on the fly. And these techniques have to be really good because they have to be able to work them out quickly and easily, almost as if the numbers were memorized, right? And they also have to be understandable to young people, because we're kind of imagining that, you might have a year 3 student in front of you, something like that, or maybe even younger than that. And so they're not going to have a lot of background knowledge with which to understand difficult techniques. So they have to be pretty straightforward. So with that in mind, the idea here is really just to identify specific numbers that have special tricks associated with them. So these techniques are associated with specific numbers. And so if we can identify those numbers and explain the techniques associated with them, our student is going to be able to work out their products really easily. Now, I want to just emphasize here that I'm only going to talk about single digit products. Okay, so we're not going to do 11 times 12 or anything like that. And the reason is because I feel like that's actually taught pretty well. The patterns are pretty straightforward. And I feel like most teachers actually know how to explain, multiplication by 11 or multiplication by 12. And they're also just less important. If you know your single digit products, you can kind of work out the others, right? There's so many different ways of working out products of multi-digit numbers, assuming only that you can do your single digit products. So therefore, we're going to focus on the single digit products today. So with that in mind, let's explain how to do 2 times anything. Suppose we're doing 2 times 6. Well, the student probably knows how to add numbers. And so 2 times anything is just that thing plus itself. So it would be, in this context, 6 plus 6, which they can probably work out, and the answer is 12. So they can probably do this. I'll put a tick there to mean they can probably do this. If you find they can't, you need to back off from times tables. You need to just focus on plus, because plus is really the building block for so many other different things. And there's really no reason to go rushing into times tables if addition needs further work. So if you find they can do this, that's great. You can keep going. But if you find they can't, just put times tables on the side for a while and just focus on addition, okay? Now, what I tend to do is I tend to give them questions like 8 times 2, and their task is to circle the number that gives the strategy, in this case 2, and then just to work it out. And so if you keep asking them to circle the appropriate number and then work out the product, you're going to be confident that they know which number gives them the strategy to work out that product. Now, similarly with 3, it's really the same deal. So 3 times 5 equals 5 plus 5 plus 5. And I really don't think there's anything wrong with this strategy of just adding the number and then adding it again. Just make sure that they are confident enough to be able to circle the number that's giving them the strategy. And they should be able to work out that sum pretty quickly in their head. It should be almost as quick as if they had memorized it. Again, if they're struggling with these kinds of things, go back and just focus on addition for a while, because once they've got that in their toolkit, this kind of thing will be easy. So with 4 times something, it's pretty straightforward. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to double it, and then we double it again, right? So take 7, double it, we get 14, double that, we get 28. And so the answer is 28. And you want to make sure that they can circle the number that's giving them the strategy. And you also want to make sure that they're confident doubling things. So if they're struggling with doubling or halving, these tricks actually won't work. And so if you find that they do have trouble with that kind of thing, you need to go back and work on that strategy separately, right? And make sure you're giving them a mix of numbers at this point. So you might ask them, what's 8 times 3? And then they'll circle that and they'll work it out. And then you'll put the number that gives the strategy on the other side. So you'll say, all right, go ahead and work out 4 times 9. And, they'll go ahead and hopefully circle the 4, and they'll double 9 and double it again, and there's 36 there. Now, to work out something like this, in which 5 is involved, we're going to use a slightly trickier strategy, something slightly more clever than what we've been doing. And the idea is basically to take the other number, so in this case 9, to stick a 0 on the right-hand side and then halve it. Okay, so 9 becomes 90, and then we just halve it. So hopefully they'll be able to work out that half of 90 is 45. And so there's our answer. Once again, if they don't know how to halve things, just work on that separately. You don't need to rush straight into times tables necessarily. If you work on multiplication and division by 2, that's going to help them work out their times tables without having to memorize anything. And so using this strategy, they should be able to work out products like this, in which at least one of the two numbers is 5 or less. And their strategy is basically to circle the number that's making that possible, and then to go ahead and work that out. And if you look at sheet 1 that I've attached in the description of this video, you'll actually get a whole worksheet full of problems in which all the products are of this form. So at least one of the numbers in all those products is 5 or less, and therefore you can stop the first lesson there. You can give them that worksheet, and that will constitute your first lesson with the student. It should take about an hour or so, and then you'll be able to give them that worksheet.